I never imagined a single moment could unravel years of shared memories, but the night everything fell apart is etched vividly in my mind. The air was thick with tension, and every word spoken felt like a brick thrown through fragile glass. The living room, usually our sanctuary, became a battleground where silence screamed louder than any argument. Mom sat on the couch, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a faded photograph, the one we all used to smile at during happier times. Dad stood by the window, staring out into the rain, as if the storm outside mirrored the chaos within our home. I could feel the weight of their pain pressing down, suffocating the room. My sister Mia, barely holding herself together, paced the floor with restless energy. Her eyes darted between Mom and Dad, searching for answers, for some sign that things could still be okay. And then there was little Ben, clutching his worn-out teddy bear, oblivious to the tension, but sensing that something was terribly wrong. The argument didn't start with shouting or accusations. Instead, it began with a silence so heavy it was almost unbearable. Then came the revelations, words about betrayal, secrets hidden for years, and a fracture in trust that seemed irreparable. Each sentence felt like a knife twisting deeper into our family's heart. I remember the moment Dad finally spoke, his voice low but shaking. He confessed mistakes I never expected, truths that shattered the image of the man I thought I knew. Mom's face crumpled, tears spilling down as the foundation of our family life cracked beneath us. Mia burst into tears, her usually fierce demeanor breaking as she pleaded for understanding, for a chance to heal what had been broken. But the anger was too raw, the wounds too fresh. Forgiveness felt like a distant dream, and resentment hung thick in the air. Ben's soft whimper caught my attention, pulling me back from the whirlwind of emotions. I knelt beside him, trying to offer comfort, knowing that even at his young age, he understood the gravity of our unraveling. It was a stark reminder that our pain wasn't contained. It spilled over to those we loved most. Days blurred into nights, and the silence between us grew deafening. We ate meals together but spoke little, the unspoken accusations and bitterness filling the void. The house felt colder, the walls closing in as if mourning the loss of the family we once were. At school, I found myself distracted, haunted by the fractured family dynamic waiting at home. Friends noticed my distance, but I couldn't bring myself to explain the turmoil brewing beneath my calm exterior. It was easier to hide behind a mask than to reveal the family's crumbling foundation. One evening, Mom finally broke down completely. She sat on the floor, clutching the photograph again, sobbing quietly. I sat beside her, hesitant but wanting to bridge the growing chasm. Her vulnerability was raw and heartbreaking, a stark contrast to the strong woman she usually portrayed. That night, for the first time in weeks, words flowed, not accusations, but confessions of hurt and regret. The silence began to crack, allowing glimpses of hope to seep through. We spoke of the past, of mistakes made, and the desire to find a way forward despite the pain. Dad joined us, his voice rough but sincere. He apologized, not just in words, but in the way he looked at each of us, acknowledging the damage caused. It wasn't a magical fix, but it was the first step toward something new, something fragile but real. Mia offered a tentative smile, wiping her tears as she admitted her own anger and fear. It was a moment of collective honesty that felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. We were still broken, but maybe, just maybe, we could start mending the pieces. Ben, sensing the shift, nestled closer to us. His presence was a reminder that forgiveness wasn't just about adults. It was about protecting the innocence still left in our family. We promised each other to try to hold on to hope even when it felt impossible. Days turned into weeks, and the healing process was anything but linear. There were setbacks and relapses into old patterns, moments when the past seemed to swallow us whole. But amidst the struggle, small acts of kindness and understanding began to blossom. I found myself writing letters I never intended to send, pouring out feelings too complex to say aloud. It was a way to process the chaos, to confront my own role in the family's pain and my hopes for its future. The words became a quiet rebellion against hopelessness. Mom started attending therapy, sometimes dragging Dad along. It wasn't easy. There were tears, arguments, and uncomfortable truths, but it showed a willingness to face what had been buried. We began to rediscover parts of each other beneath the hurt and resentment. Mia threw herself into music, using her art as an outlet for the storm inside. Her songs spoke of heartbreak and resilience, echoing the journey we were all on. Her voice became a beacon, reminding us that even in darkness, creativity could light a path forward. Dad tried to rebuild trust through small gestures, making breakfast, asking about our days, and sometimes just sitting quietly in the same room without words. It was awkward at first, but those moments slowly knitted the fabric of our family back together. Ben's laughter began to return, a fragile but hopeful sign that not all was lost. Watching him play and joke reminded us why forgiveness mattered, not just for ourselves, but for the future we wanted to create for him and for each other. One afternoon, as the sun broke through the clouds after a long rain, we gathered in the backyard. It wasn't a grand reunion or a dramatic declaration. Just a quiet moment where we shared a meal, exchanged smiles, and allowed the possibility of healing to settle in our hearts. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges we couldn't yet foresee. But in that moment, the distance between us seemed a little less vast, the weight of betrayal a little lighter. We were still a family, imperfect, fragile, but unwilling to give up on each other. Night fell, and as we sat together, I realized forgiveness wasn't a destination, but a continuous effort, a daily choice to see beyond pain and anger, to hold on to love even when it felt like slipping through our fingers. And so, the story of our family's struggle to forgive continues, not with neat endings or easy resolutions, but with the messy, beautiful complexity of real life. Each day brings new battles, but also new chances to heal, to understand, and maybe to truly forgive. The rain outside had stopped, but inside, the echoes of that night still lingered. We all carried scars, invisible and deep, but also the faintest glimmer of hope. It was a reminder that even in the darkest storms, the possibility of light remains. I often wonder how different things might have been if we had spoken sooner, if we had been braver to share our fears and mistakes before they grew into chasms. But regret is a heavy burden, and learning to forgive means learning to live with it. Our home, once filled with laughter and ease, now holds a different kind of energy, one charged with cautious optimism and the fragile promise of second chances. It's a testament to the resilience of family, even when tested beyond measure. Some nights, when the house is quiet, I catch myself listening for the sound of normalcy, the comfortable rhythms of everyday life we once took for granted. It's a reminder of what we lost and what we're fighting to regain. The hardest part isn't the pain itself, but the uncertainty of what forgiveness really means. Is it forgetting, moving on, or something more complicated, an ongoing commitment to accept flaws and mistakes without losing hope? As I watch Mom and Dad navigate their own journeys toward healing, I see the fragility beneath their strength. They are both wounded and healing, struggling to reconcile who they were with who they want to be for us. Mia's rebellious spirit sometimes clashes with her vulnerability, a reminder that forgiveness isn't just about others, but also about forgiving ourselves for the ways we hurt and are hurt. Her music continues to be her sanctuary, a place where pain transforms into power. Ben, with his innocent questions and unwavering love, anchors us in the present. His presence is a daily call to action, to be better, to try harder, and to create a family where he can thrive without fear. I find comfort in small rituals, shared meals, evening talks, and moments of silence that stitch us back together thread by thread. They don't erase the past, but they build a foundation for a future we still dare to imagine. Forgiveness hasn't come easily, and it hasn't come quickly. It's been a slow, painful process filled with setbacks and breakthroughs, but each step forward feels like a victory, proof that love can endure even the deepest wounds. Sometimes, when the weight of it all feels unbearable, I remind myself that no family is perfect. We all carry secrets, regrets, and pain. What matters is the willingness to face those truths and keep moving forward together. The cracked photo frame on the table remains, a silent symbol of our fractured past. But instead of discarding it, we've learned to see its cracks as part of our story, marks of survival, and the imperfect beauty of healing. I don't know what the future holds for us. There will be more storms, more tears, and more moments of doubt. But I also know that the struggle to forgive is a powerful force, one that can transform even the deepest pain into something hopeful. Each day I choose to believe in that hope, even when it feels fragile. Because in the end, family isn't just about perfect harmony, it's about the courage to face the hard truths and keep trying to love, no matter what. Our story is far from over. It's a messy, complicated journey filled with twists and turns, heartache and healing. But it's ours, and we're discovering, sometimes painfully, that forgiveness is possible, even when it feels impossible. Tonight, as I sit by the window watching the stars begin to emerge from the dark sky, I feel a quiet resolve settle within me. We may be broken, but we are not defeated, and that, somehow, feels like a beginning. I don't have all the answers, and I can't predict what tomorrow will bring, but I know this: forgiveness is a choice we make every day, in every small moment, in every hesitant step toward one another. And that choice keeps us moving forward. So here we are, a family still struggling, still hurting, but still together. And maybe that's what matters most: the willingness to keep trying, to keep hoping, and to keep loving even when it's hard. The silence in the house isn't quite as heavy now. It carries a new kind of weight, the weight of possibility, of healing, of love that refuses to give up. And in that silence, I find a fragile peace, just enough to hold on to. Every day brings new challenges, but also new chances to forgive and be forgiven. Our journey isn't over, and the road ahead is uncertain. But as long as we walk it together, I believe we can find our way through. This story isn't about perfect endings or neat resolutions. It's about real life, messy, painful, and beautiful in its imperfection. And it's a story we're still writing, one day at a time. I want to thank anyone who has ever struggled with forgiveness or family pain. You're not alone in this. Our struggles connect us, and sharing them can be the first step toward healing. I'm still learning, still hoping, and still fighting for my family's future. Sometimes, the hardest battles are fought in the quietest moments, in the spaces between words, in the glances exchanged, in the willingness to stay even when it's easier to walk away. That's where forgiveness lives, fragile but real. As I close this chapter for now, I hold on to the hope that our family will continue to grow stronger, that the wounds will slowly heal, and that forgiveness will become less of a struggle and more of a gift we give each other every day. The journey is long, and the path is uncertain, but love remains the compass guiding us through the darkest nights. And with that, we take one more step forward together.